night, everyone. This is Project 3 PowerPoint presentation and deals with compensation. We're going to look at a company, USC Global Inc. As it expands office in Mexico, I will play the role of the Human Resource Manager. We have roughly about 15 to 18 slides to go through, so we want to move quickly, but we want to be able to cover all the content in the PowerPoint presentation. So let's deal with the objectives as it pertains to compensation policies. When creating an international compensation policy or policies, what a firm should intend to do is fulfill a few goals. So in this case, USC Global Inc. ought to be steady with first the general procedure, the structure, as well as the business needs of the multinational firm. Right, so here are some of the main objectives as it pertains to compensation policies. Firstly, we have here that the strategy must work to draw in and hold the staff in the regions where the multinational firm has the best needs and openings. The approach ought to encourage the exchange of international workers in the most financial way because you want to reduce costs. The strategy must give due thought to value and simplicity of the organization. And lastly, the arrangement should cover benefits, social security, and living expenses in the remote area. There are mainly two approaches to the area of international compensation. Right? There's the going rate approach, which is commonly known as the market rate approach, and then you have the balance sheet approach. Right? This is the build-up or the build-up approach. Now, the going rate approach, the base pay for international transfers are connected to the compensation structure in the host country. The multinational firms, for the most part, would attempt to acquire data from neighborhood compensation studies. So they would go out and gather data and study this, different procedures, etc. And they would choose whether nearby home country nationals, expatriates of a different similar nationality or of all nationalities will be the reference point or as far as a benchmark. So they go out and gather this data together and they use their finding as a benchmark as to how to put into play the base pay, etc. Now, there are some advantages and disadvantages in the going rate approach, and we'll see a table later on in the slides. Now, there are some advantages that are extremely important. Three very important advantages in the going rate approach. There's equality with local nationals. Very effective and attracting the PCNs or the TCNs to a location that pays higher salaries than those receiving that those received in the home country. And there are some disadvantages as well of the going rate approach, which include first, there can be a variation between assignments for the same employee. Major disadvantage, because then there's some form of redundancy there and unnecessary work being done by too many employees. And then finally, the going rate approach, another disadvantage, you can pose problems upon a repatriation repatriation where the employee's salary reverts to the home country level, the home country level that is below the host country. Let's get into the balance sheet approach. Okay, so the balance sheet, so we did we went over the going rate approach, right? There's two. We're going to look at the balance sheet approach. So the essential goal in the balance sheet approach is to keep the expatriates stable, or they will also say whole, and they would do this through means of support. And as you could see here, you have home nation standards for everyday comfort, financial inducement, and all these things they put together is in the form of a package or a bundle that would be appealing to capture, the workers or induce them to stay or whatever have you. Now the approach connects the base pay for the PCNs and the TCNs to the pay structure of the significant home nation. There are also disadvantages and advantages where it pertains to the balance sheet approach as well. Let's look at three main advantages. First, the balance sheet approach provides equity between all foreign assignments and between the expats of the same nationality. That's one. Second, the repatriation of expatriates is facilitated by the emphasis on equity with the parent country, as expats' compensation remains anchored in the compensation system in the parent country. And then lastly, the third approach is, it's easy to communicate. So with this approach, you'd find that communication is very simple, is simplified, and there's no problems with that there. There's only two main advantages when it talks about the balance sheet approach. Let's look at the advantages quickly, the disadvantages. So the first disadvantage, this approach can result in considerable disparities both between expats of different nationalities and between PCNs and HCNs. Right? And so that is one of the disadvantages. So the second disadvantage that we have, finally, the going rate approach can pose problems upon repatriation when the employee's salary reverts to the home country level that is below that of the host country. Alright? So let's move forward. So so you have the table here of the going rate approach and the balance sheet approach. So I put this nice table for you guys to simplify the advantages and disadvantages on both sides. This table is taken straight from the International Human Resource Management, the ebook. Right, you'll find that reference later down where you could go and look at that carefully, or pause the video anytime and check that. So compensations for the PCNs and TCNs. Alright, for those of you who don't know what PCNs are, it's the parent country nationals. So these are the people who are indistinguishable nationality from the home office or headquarters. They originate from the home country where the project or the task is being done, or the operation. Right, the strategy of utilizing PCNs is typically utilized when at least one of their accompanying circumstances exist. Excuse me. So one, the host nation could promptly supply wanted administrative workforce. Two, effective correspondence with home office is required. And then three, the organization receives an incorporated way to deal with the globalization. Let's look at the TCN quickly. TCN is the third country nationals. These are people who aren't from the host nation or from the country where the task is being done. So people of different nationality to both the contracting government and the region of operations, i.e. whose country of origin is neither the host nation, as I just said, nor the nation of origin. So such a worker is ordinarily enlisted from outside the host nation and moved from the point of enrollment to the host. So in this case, we would be doing business in Mexico, right? Let's say that our home nation is Trinidad. We could have a third country national coming from somewhere else. Maybe it may be from one of our international businesses that is probably located in, say, there's St. Lucia. We're establishing an office in Mexico. So if we're here in Trinidad and the office is opening in Mexico, we could have third country nationals coming from St. Lucia. We could have them coming in from Barbados. So anywhere that is not anywhere that is persons working that is not within the home country and the place where it's being done. Alright, so good. So let's move on. So as a result of this, this is a separation amongst PCNs and TCNs. Numerous TCNs, and I'm just abbreviating, have a lot of global experience, right? They are regularly moved from nation to nation in the employ of one multinational or a few headquartered in a nation other than their own. So TCNs generally have more experience under their belt because they are accustomed moving from country to country, dealing with technical tasks, and they would know they would be able to settle down faster because they're accustomed to this line of work. There is no doubt that paying TCNs, as indicated by their nation of origin base compensation, can be more affordable than paying all expats on the PCN scale, especially if the multinational is headquartered in a nation which has both high administrative pay rates as and a solid money. Right. So what we're looking at here is key differences in salary compensation, and whether these differences actually matter. So the multi-phase nature inborn in the international benefits regularly carry a greater number of troubles than when managing pay. So expatriates benefits incorporate medical services annuity, designs government managed savings, disaster protection, right? They also get benefits for the kids. They get a stipend for the children. In some cases, stipends sometimes are given for wives and how much kids you have, and other benefits. There's sharing, investment opportunity design, etc. So benefits designs are exceptionally hard to manage nation to nation as national practices, right? As nation practices fluctuate impressively. Transportability for the pension plans, social savings, and therapeutic scope benefits are exceptionally hard to standardize. In this manner, you have MNEs which need to address numerous issues while considering how to give the benefits, and these benefits include whether or not to keep the expats in the home nation programs, and this is especially if the multinational doesn't get an expense finding for it. There's also whether MNEs have the choice of selecting expats in having a nation advantage programs, or potentially compensating for any shortfall in the scope or whatever have you, whether expats ought to get home nation, the home country, or are qualified to have nation government managed saving benefits. Alright, these are some internal compensation practices. The international business can be fascinating, and some might say energizing, and now and again sometimes difficult. In all cases, it ought to be gainful and enable the business to develop. Right? So working together globally isn't the same as working together at home. There are new aptitudes to learn and new information to secure about the nation you will go into. Right? So in terms of international compensation practices, you should really find out, and we have a listing here, the distinctive laws and regulations, the different customer buying habits, your marketing strategies, material to the new country you are in, right? Material to the new country that you are in, right? So that is basically what we discussed as to why it is important for MNEs to understand the compensation practices of other countries. Right, this is the reference page Uh, I believe that the Human Resource International book was very informative. I got a lot of my information from that book. I would really advise anyone to read that book if they want to get, you know, a fundamental and in-depth knowledge on international human resource management. I would like to thank you guys for allowing me to present. Do enjoy. God bless.